Hello guys, once again welcome. So today we're gonna discuss about a very interesting topic which is called Docker Compose. So if you follow Docker updates and whatever is going on in Docker and you have an idea about Docker, so you come across the term called Docker Compose, right? So today we will be discussing about Docker Compose. So this will be a very interesting topic. I know that. Please watch this video till end, so I'm sure that you will gain a very good knowledge about Docker Compose and you will have a very good idea about Docker Compose. And in this video we'll also see like how to create a compose file, and we'll start multi-container setup using Docker Compose. So let's discuss that what we're gonna discuss. But before that, I am working on, as you all know, that Docker Compose tutorial series. So we have around 6 videos in this series. So I would suggest you to first go through all those videos first before coming to this video, because this will be in continuation to that series. So in that particular series we have covered from basic Docker to how to set up Docker in your system, and then different Docker commands and Docker images, build commands, a volume and bind mounting. So there's a lot of concept we already have covered till now. So I would really suggest you to please watch all those videos and subscribe my channel, so that whenever a new video comes, you will get notified, so you don't miss any future video, right? That's it. So let's start. So we will gonna cover like the brief introduction about Docker Compose, right? Then we'll see like why we need Docker Compose. Then we'll see like YML, we say like YAML file, and what is the use of YAML file in Docker Compose. Then we'll see Docker Compose, some important Docker Compose commands, how to use that and how we can use it in our project, and how we can get a benefit of the Docker Compose. Then we'll create our own Docker Compose file, and we'll run Docker Compose, created Docker Compose file to set up multi-container application setup, right? This is what actually in production we have. We don't have a single container running in an isolation, right? We have a multiple container, like we have a one web server, one database server, right, interacting with each other, running on networking, right, interacting with each other, right? So in this way we'll create a multi-application container, multi-services container, we can say, which will be interacting with each other, right? So okay, so let's get started. So the first topic will be like why and what is a Docker Compose, like why we need Docker Compose, right? So as I already mentioned that in actual production we rarely use Docker as a single process, right? So it requires like different container, like web server, database server, my a different load balancer. So all those multiple services are running together to get for like particular application to be running, right, in a running state. So for that, like it we have already seen like how to run the container from a command like docker container run command, and we have to pass multiple parameters, right? So first is like what is the requirement to have like use Docker Compose. The first requirement is like to set up multi container environment. So this is the most important requirement. Like we, as I already mentioned, like we need to set up a multi-container environment, multi-services environment which interact with each other. Like today we have a microservices uh, which cater at specific need, and they interact with each other to give me a particular running application, right? Then we have a second requirement is like while running the container, like we use docker container run, and then we need to pass different parameter, like we need to pass the name, right? Then we need to pass what we call like environment variable, right? We already seen all those configuration, all those parameters, right? We need to pass uh, the hyphen d, like for the running the in the background mode. We need to do the port mapping using hyphen p or a hyphen ports, right? Mapping of the port from my host machine to my container port, right? So it is very troublesome for, like, for running suppose you need to run 20 containers, right? You need to start 20 containers, so it will be very uh, problematic or sometimes very inconvenient to run, provide all those config, all those options, right, while running the container or while interacting with container, right? So to avoid that or to make that process easy, we have a Docker Compose, right? So Docker Compose is a tool for running multi-container application, and it's a combination of both command line tool and it's a configuration file. So command line tool is like we are passing this command like Docker Compose, so it's a like command line interpreter commands, and we have a configuration file that we'll see, like it's a YAML file. It's in the form of key value key value pair, right? It's similar to like JSON we have, right? It's a key value pair file, so which we'll use for creating the Docker Compose file, right? So in that Docker Compose file, we pass all the parameter like name of the container, all the environment variable that we need, the port mapping, the volumes that we need, right? The volume, or we can volume and mounting if required, right? And the image, name of the image, right? Name of the image, this is very important. So from which image I want to start the container, so I can pass that image name in itself inside the Docker Compose file, right? And not for a single container, we can have list of container inside the Docker Compose, so we can pass all the name of the images that we for which we want to run the container, right? So this is what like we'll see, and we'll see like what all a basic a demo. We'll create one demo compose file where we will see like each parameter with detail, like what is the use of that. So till now, like we are clear, like okay, what is Docker Compose and why we need Docker Compose. So first requirement is that to set up multi-container environment. So when we want to start a multi services environment, multi-container environment, we need one-stop shop is Docker Compose, right? It is very useful for our local testing and automation, right? So when I want to test a multi setup application, I will go for Docker Compose. And then next step is to pass multiple parameter, multiple environment variables, right? It is very easy, right, to set up all those setup configuration inside the Docker Compose file. And also like the boot process, the container boot process, or we can say the the initiation, the container setup time, container, I can say the container cluster setup time gets reduced, right? It's reduced to manifold. Like we'll see like in what time, like in very less time we'll see how we can set up multi-container setup, multi-container application using Docker Compose, right? So for that demo purpose I'm using this Selenium hub, right? We know that we have a grid, Selenium grid concept, where we have a centralized hub, and through this Selenium centralized hub multiple nodes are being registered. And suppose I want to run my test on Chrome, I suppose I want to run my test on Firefox, so I don't need to set up multiple VMs, so I can set up multiple containers having, you know, the Chrome image. Other node is having uh, Firefox image, and those two nodes will get registered with my hub, centralized hub, and hub will basically on the basis of some parameter, some configuration that we pass from our running test, it will run that particular test inside that particular node. Okay, so if we go to this particular page, so they have very detailed information about what all images they are using. So for this demo purpose I am using, so I hope that it is visible. Let me increase the font size. Okay, so for this demo purpose we are using these three images, like Selenium hub, Selenium node Chrome. Let me check. Okay, yeah, so Selenium node Chrome debug and Selenium node Firefox debug. So these three images, make sure you have these three images. If you can search like Selenium Firefox or Selenium Chrome on Docker Hub, you will get all the images, or like we have, you know, the name of the images here on their official GitHub page. You can get this information, and you can search this, you can do a direct pull from your terminal, right? Just make sure that I already have these images. If you don't have, you can pull it from Docker Hub, like this Selenium pull, Docker pull Selenium hub. You can use this command. Similarly for Firefox debug and Chrome debug, you can use this command Selenium pull Selenium / node Firefox debug. Okay, so I hope that till now you have your images so in place. Okay, so let's go to the Docker Compose file that we'll gonna use. So for this purpose I'm using like I have created this file for Docker Compose file. I will explain, like don't worry, like what all these key value pair are, and what is the meaning of individual key values pair, right? So for that the editor I'm using is like Visual Studio Code. So I found it very useful, and you need to download an extension, a Docker extension, for so that you will get this nice view of Docker Compose file, right? So it will give you suggestion and all those features you have automatically in the editor. So Eclipse should also work, and some text editor should also work, but for that, like, you have to maintain the spaces, because it's accept, I think, 2 spaces for so we from editor perspective, like editor automatically manage all those things, so we don't need to worry about all those indentation things. So that's why I prefer using Docker Compose file creation on Visual Studio Code. So I suggest you to use this as well, right? So moving ahead, so So Docker Compose start with, you can add one more line here, version, but if you don't, like, it will use, I think, version 3, which is the latest one for the compose file. And it has, a services tag here. So if you move the mouse, it will give you the information, like, okay, in the tooltip format, like specify the set of services that your app is composed of. So Docker Compose, as I already mentioned, that it is used for, setting up multiple container or multiple services. So here, like, in Docker Compose, we call a container as a service, which is true in some sense. Like, we know that container is a independent service running in the background, right? So in this case, we have services tab, and services tag has multiple, it says like what all services you want to run. Okay, so I want 3 services. First one is Selenium Hub, right? Another is Chrome, and third one is Firefox. So you can give any name. This is not like you have to give Selenium hyphen hub. You can give hub, you can give Chrome test, Firefox test, anything, right? So we'll be referring these names in for setting the dependencies, and so that's all. So and you need to pass the image name. So which image you are using. So as we already seen from the terminal, by issuing the command docker images, so these are the images I'm using. Selenium Hub, this is the name of the image. Selenium node Chrome debug, and Selenium stand node, Selenium / node hyphen Firefox hyphen debug. So I'm using the same complete name of the image, and this is colon latest. If you don't provide it, it will take the latest tag. Otherwise, it is, you can pass the tag name. So I'm passing latest for all 3 containers, right? So this one and this one, the name of this container, this takes as a name of the container. Like, internally it takes the name of the container, but you can pass the name of the container through this tag as well. I'm passing like Selenium Hub, Selenium Chrome, Selenium Firefox, but this one is mandatory. And in name of the then image tag is also, image key is also important. Let's call it like key, because it's in the key value pair. And I am passing another key like container name, which is I'm passing like value as Selenium hyphen hub. Then ports. So if you want to do the port mapping, for the port mapping we have already seen in my previous video. So if you don't know about port mapping, how to do that, why we need port mapping, I would suggest you to go to my previous video in my playlist, so you'll get complete knowledge about why we need a port mapping. So the port mapping, just we are using here, like this one left on the left side, it means the port on my host, and this port on the right side means the port inside the container. And since it's we can expose multiple port from container, so we give it in the form of a list. So the format of the list in YAML file is like we give like in this form with dash. Okay, so this one is my Selenium Hub, right? Now moving into the next container, so I want Chrome container to get start, right? And then the image is this along with the tag, then container name, then let's leave this volume for now, like ports. Okay, and we are passing the environment variable here, guys. So I want to pass, so there may be case like for to start suppose this is not a Chrome browser, this is some a DB server as well, right? So we see like in the past, like to start the PostgreSQL or MySQL DB container, we need to pass some password property environment variable there. So we can pass environment variable from not a single environment, we can pass multiple environment variable. So since we need to pass we can pass multiple environment variable, we need to use the list format here. So we are using list format here, like hyphen format. So it's again it's in form of key value pairs, right? Then there is another parameter like depends on. So depends on, so by default Docker Compose doesn't follow any order. It basically start like, it will not wait for Selenium Hub to get started before running the Chrome and Firefox. But since my requirement is that I want to start Chrome and Firefox container only and only when my Selenium Hub container is up and running. So it will wait for this hub container to be up and running before starting this Chrome and Firefox container. So this way we can set up the order, and this way we can set up the dependency among the container, guys. So for that we use this depends on key, right? So I'm saying that the Chrome container depends on my Selenium Hub container. Similarly here I am saying like my Firefox container depends on Selenium Hub container, right? And we are passing this environment. Then we have a volume tag here. So we already covered volume in detail in my previous video, I think in lecture 5, where we discuss about the volume and data mounting, right? So actually here we are basically doing the data mounting. So dev/shm is it's a common way of doing, mapping shared memories among two different machines, just for for a Linux based system. So since Mac is also a, a Unix based operating system, so we are doing the same thing. So for more detail I will suggest you to go and check my volume and data mounting video. You will get a complete knowledge about that. So just for for doing the fast process and for memory management, we are basically doing a data mounting here, right? This one represent my host, left side of this column, and right hand side represent my location inside the container. Okay, so I think we have covered each and every key value pair inside this Docker Compose. So let's save it. Okay, and make sure that we are inside in that particular directory, right? Let's do it. So yes, I am there. So see that name of the file is docker-compose.yaml. You can give any other name of the file, but in that case you need to pass another parameter which is -f and the name of the file in the docker compose command, right? So for now, like, I want to avoid that, so to make it easy, we are using the default file name docker-compose, so that we don't need to pass the name of the file while running the docker compose up and docker compose down command, right? So that's all. Like, and again, so I'm saying that I want to run the Selenium Hub on this particular port 4444 and 4444, and I'm exposing that port from container to, I am redirecting all the traffic to this particular port on my host machine, right? So okay, so let's see, is then container running, docker container ps. See, no container is currently running inside my system. So let's clean it, and let me run the command as docker compose up, and I want to run the services in detach mode, in background mode. So I will pass another parameter -d. If you don't want, you can skip this -d parameter, but for that I need to switch, just to avoid to switching to the new terminal. I am passing this like in a detach mode. I'm running the docker compose in detach mode, right? So just press return key. Oh, is there something wrong inside this docker let me run this. I think we have made some, it's saying some error. Config option for services Chrome Selenium -hub. Okay, config option. which config, let's see, Selenium hub, it's saying the compose file docker compose YML is invalid because unsupported config option for services Firefox. Okay, sometime we get some error, so let's see what error it's saying. Container, container name Selenium hyphen Firefox. If I remove this container name, let me remove. I am removing this container name for now, just to see whether it's causing some error. Okay, save it, and still it's giving some error. Okay, let's see inside their documentation part. They also have given this thing, depends on hyphen hub, depends on hyphen Firefox. Depends on, it's giving error on Firefox, guys, on Chrome. Sometimes on Firefox unsupported config option for services Chrome. Okay, let's use version here. Let me use version 3. File, save. Docker compose up. Okay, so see, I think there is some problem with that we are not passing the version, so that causing some problem. Okay, so let's go to localhost slash colon 444444. See, the grid is up, right? And if you go to console, see guys, like the Chrome browser and Firefox browser is up. Okay, so even though it's giving some error, but like we can see that grid is up, and we have like latest version of Selenium 3.141.59 is up and running. So one is Chrome, another is Firefox. So let's stop it, so by pressing Control C. So but if I refresh it, see, this is the problem like if we don't run this in background. So I want to run this on my background mode, so that once it's up, it just gives the control back to the terminal. So if I refresh it again, see, I can see it's up. Okay, so see like how fast it is to run and to set up the multi application setup and multi-container setup. So if I go and execute this command, docker container ps, if I again run this command, see it's running 3 containers, guys. So one is Selenium Node debug later, Selenium Node Firefox debug, and Selenium Hub. Both, all threes are up and running, right? So we don't need to run each time. We don't need to run docker container and run command and pass some, doing some volume mapping, doing passing some environment variable, and setting some name, and all those things. We don't need to do that, right? So we have created one file, we pass all the set of containers that we want to run, and all the complete setup is up and running, the cluster is up and running, we can see that application is up and running, right? See, that is the advantage of using a docker compose file, right? So that's all. Like, and once again, like if I want to stop this, so we can do docker compose down, just press this return key, see, and if I go and refresh, it's not there, right? And again, if I start and if I do docker container ps, no container is running. If I do docker compose up -d, see, just press the return key, see how fast it is, right? And just refresh the browser. Oh, it's not showing the browser there. Let me do compose down, and then running it again. Sometimes it takes time to load this configuration. So yeah, see, it is up and running, right? All the configurations and all, both the browsers and both the containers are running, and it is registered with the grid at the port number 4444, right? So I think that's all from my side. So please, like, if you like this video and if you have any comment, please do comment and share this and subscribe to my channel.